Today we have Charles Adkins. He is the CEO of the Hedera Foundation, formerly the HBAR Foundation. Before that, he held a role at the Hedera LLC, so that is the Hedera Governing Council as president. Charles, welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much. We're still currently the HBAR Foundation, but we're working our way down the road to make those really exciting changes. So we'll get there.
We'll get that exciting rebrand when it comes. But Charles, just to start, you've been in the Hedera ecosystem officially now since December of 2023. How's the experience been so far?
I mean, it's been really amazing. It's obviously a lot of hard work. There's, coming in as someone who is more crypto native and worked at other projects, there's the amount of opportunity that's still here and the amount of ceiling that we still have to go has just been, I mean, it's incredible because a lot of the basics is what we're just started, we just started getting right over the past year and, especially now 2025 with this market, man, we are pumped.
You should be. You absolutely should be. So, what's your vision for Hedera as a whole, for the entire ecosystem?
I mean, the entire ecosystem is obviously in the past really enterprise focused, and that's incredibly important. It really is. It's important longer term. You have to, understand that in the crypto and Web3 markets in particular, you have to have a grassroots program going from the bottom up while enterprise meets you from the top down. So I think one of the things that was really over indexed on was the enterprise focus and just a lot of not paying attention to how important the retail user is, the community user, until those friction points started happening. Enterprises, you want to implement something like a bridge, or you want to implement something like a custodian. And Hedera is lacking some of those custodians because they actually look at, daily volumes. They look at how many people are on the other side of this technology. They're going to take operational risk to put your chain into their development roadmap. They want to make sure someone's going to use it. So that's kind of been a big issue in the past that, we've alleviated a lot of in 2024, like really opening up the spigot on that in 2025. And, I think the understanding now is that we are playing a little bit of catch up in retail, but we've got the horsepower to do it. So, I mean, we're happy to chase people down.
So we've seen networks that have become sustainable, like Ethereum and Solana, based on that retail focus, where I think we all believe that the enterprise potential is there and can make us sustainable in the long term. But why do you think it's important to focus on retail right now? And how can we go about doing that?
Yeah, I think there's some people that don't realize is, retail in general, when we say retail, a lot of those people are actually developers. So yes, they do hold the token, but a lot of them hold the token because they're powering their own business. They're powering their own startup. And when you have developers that understand how the technology works and how to kind of play within the ecosystem, they're essentially multiplying the development resources that a network has. So when you have people out there, Solana, Ethereum's got an insane number of developers. And that's why a lot of other protocols have gone to being EVM compatible or EVM equivalent. It's, they know where the developers are. And that's one of the things on the retail side, it's, yes, they hold the token, but a lot of times they're also building really important resources that they open source and that other builders can come in and utilize as well. So, we've been focusing heavy on the open source in the past 6 months, especially. It's been open source forever, but now we have Project Hyro officially under Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. We just need more market activity, more builders in the network, and that has to be a huge focus in 2025.
Well, let's talk about how the HBAR Foundation, or the soon-to-be Hedera Foundation, is going to do that under your leadership. What strategies are you going to use to make your vision come to fruition?
I think one of the things where we've in the past coming in looking at the foundation, a lot of the grant models that have come through the HBAR Foundation have been high dollar grants that maybe took a little bit longer. Where when you really need to ramp up retail users and developers, you really want maybe lower dollar grants, but you want to do them at a much higher velocity. So you'll probably see a lot more velocity coming out of the HBAR Foundation, maybe at a lot lower level. But really, what we're trying to drive is some of those key on-chain metrics. So we want that TVL. We want a lot more HTS utilization, smart contract utilization over HCS. We want to see a lot of new token launches and new users, and that's what sustains a lot of the monthly active users. We have kind of this situation now where people, you come into the Hedera ecosystem, there's some things to do, there's less things to do here than some of the other, protocols. So people will come in, they'll look around, maybe they'll leave. So we've really got to build new things for people to do here, and a lot of that is, HTS, new tokens, new users, and then finding new projects on existing Web3 verticals, leaning into the next gen narrative. So a lot on AI and DePIN. We just really have to accelerate the launch of new ecosystem tokens. I think that's something that's going to be really important. And then, the on-chain liquidity, just reducing friction for any new users that come into Hedera. They just need to be able to stay here and really form that community. We're in that transition period from, we're in community. We could grow our community to be a lot bigger and a lot stronger, but we really need to start thinking about the economy side of things. So what are the things that you expect a city to have? When you go to a city and it has, a thriving economy, you expect the services to be there. And that's something that I think we really have to focus on really, really big this year.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So one of the things that I've noticed as we've gone through this process of the HBAR Foundation, finding grantees, giving out grants, is sometimes when you look at the teams on paper, you may think that, this team's going to excel and do really well. This one may not. And it ends up being exactly the opposite. It's kind of the X factor. You don't know where it's going to come from. I'll give a couple examples. Pangolin was a great team that did really well as a DEX on some other platforms out there. But Saucer Swap captured almost the entire DeFi space. In gaming, we've seen that. We've seen that over and over in different verticals. How do you think you can address that of not knowing where that X factor is, or maybe once a team starts to have success, leaning into that?
That is a really good point, and something we just had a conversation about at our all hands meeting this morning. Was, traditionally in the past, there's kind of a combination of things. A lot of times when people, send grant requests, and this is, same as when I was at Polygon and at Aptos as well, I go straight to the founding team and I look at the founding team. I don't even look at the business in general at first. And one of the things that, I like to look at first is what's their background. And more than that is, do they have an industry reputation where they would be really embarrassed if they had a failed project? And the reason I look at that is because typically people that they have a reputation to protect, or, they have high integrity or some measurement of success that they've had in the past, maybe not even in this industry, they're going to do a really good job at pivoting as the market pivots. They're not going to be dogmatic to the original idea. They're going to find a way to make a business work regardless of what you've given them. Now, that hasn't always been right, like kind of to your point. Some of these are first-time founders. There's not going to be a pedigree there. And there is this combination of, hitting luck of a market cycle, the narrative, depending on the narrative that a lot of these projects have out there and the communities that they're able to build and the influence they're able to build, it dictates the economics of those projects. So, those are things that are really tough to predict. I mean, we can get really analytical, and we're working on a lot more attribution to kind of see if we can map what makes this a successful grant versus one that's not. But to the longer tail, kind of go to market support, that's something that we talked about this morning. Like I said in our all hands, was we've granted a lot of really great companies HBAR over the period of time, and what have we been doing with them since? It's how do we help these people build real businesses? So taking, the Saucer Swaps of the world, to the Hashpacks, the Galaxies, like people that have done a lot of work on the Hedera network, what do we have to do to actually help them raise a seed or Series A? What do we have to do to help them raise or hire a key executive? A lot of these teams that are, brand new starting found up teams, they haven't hired key executives that could push their business to the next level. So like what are those things and how do we get those together for key projects to say like, look, money's fine, but there's some things like taking people to the next level, giving them introductions, helping them with marketing. There's some things that are a lot more valuable than just giving them a grant. And so that's something that we're going to try to lean into in 2025 a lot.
That makes a lot of sense because you have to keep that passion of the original founders, but they need some help over time. So there's no question about that. Now I want to get into some of the fun stuff. We're seeing so many exciting things, whether it's different verticals that Hedera is working in or specific teams. What are you most excited about in 2025?
I am most excited that building a crypto economy is no longer frowned upon in North America. Um, this is something I think we're all really, really excited about. We have a lot of optimism around just seeing the shift in mentality in the United States with regard to how crypto is viewed. It's massive. It's done so much for the morale of the team, for the morale of people that are working within the network and the industry as a whole. I mean, that's something I'm excited about. And, having some new team members at the HBAR Foundation that understand crypto very deeply, that understand how to bring in new token projects, how to launch new token projects, how to actually grow the value of an ecosystem where more people actually want to be there and build because it's exciting. We're starting to really ramp up that narrative, and that's getting me real pumped up for this year.
Absolutely. One of the things, I know you're super busy, and that makes it difficult to play around with some of the things that we have in this space. But what are some of the things that you have had the opportunity to play around with and you've enjoyed? I love the fact that, we have Karate Combat in the space, Galaxy, Earthlings is doing a great job. We have, my company, Twigital. For the first time, I'm going to jump into NFTs. I'm going to launch an NFT series. I didn't think that was something that I would really get into, but now I'm starting to get passionate about it. So what are some of the things that you've participated in the Hedera ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, I was just telling Solo the other day, February 1st is actually my 1 year anniversary on Galaxy. So I've been on there for a while. I've played with all the key things out there. I've played with a lot of the things on Saucer Swap. So going back and forth on that. Earthlings, I haven't had a lot of time to go in and do a bunch with it yet. On the NFT side, I'm getting a lot more interested in NFTs. Now I've had NFTs from OG back in the day. Like I have some of this is like even before Hedera. Like I still have crypto kitties in my stupid account. So like it's, that's been something that's always been there. But looking at the NFT projects on Hedera, getting me a little excited again to get back into the JPEG game. Always fun to look at those things. But I'm just excited that individual builders are there and finding their space to build in this network. And any time that I have time, I always try to dog food some of those things. I've been playing around with some of the new wallets that are out there. Anything I can get my hands on to play with, I'll check it out and try to make it work.
All right, so we talked a little bit about the retail side of things. What about some of those enterprise use cases or the more serious verticals that we have out there? You mentioned DePIN, you mentioned real world asset tokenization. What are you thinking about along those lines?
So the enterprise side is actually getting really exciting. And while we know we have to play a little bit of catch up on the retail side, the maturation of the enterprise side and the way that people are having those conversations now, it's a different level. Like a year ago, even it was a lot of what kind of POC can I build? Now these conversations are like, the council's interesting. The council is almost like, originally it was, we want to join the governing council because we want to learn about what's happening in Hedera and what blockchain is and DLT is. Now it's, we know what it is. We know the use case. How's the fastest way that we can do it? And oh, by the way, you have a governing council. Yes, we'll join that. But it's almost like a secondary conversation.
Sure.
Which is what we had always hoped. It's, it's good for people to come and learn. It's better for them to commercialize something on the network, see how well it works, and then just say, hey, look, I want to be part of that governance as well. So there is a lot of serious enterprise conversations happening at a much higher level than even 12 months ago. I mean, people that are getting production ready projects, ready for market. And that's something that's definitely, and I think that may have to do with the current administration and, just kind of the flexibility now that they're feeling. They feel a lot more comfortable having conversations at the enterprise level.
Which one of those verticals do you think has the most potential? I know AI has been really hot lately. Of course, as I mentioned, we have real world asset tokenization, which we're seeing traction on. And then DeepIn, we have two teams that I'm super excited about with CLSQ and then Neuron. Which one of those do you think has the most potential?
I mean, those are both huge. Obviously, like the AI space is growing insanely fast. And when something grows insanely fast, a lot of times on the other side of that is regulation around data. And so that's where Hedera is perfectly positioned with Equity Lab, with Prove AI. I mean, we have products out there where data provenance for AI systems it's easy. You can do it today. And so if that regulation hits, I know the EU AI Act is sometime this year. That's going to be really helpful to have a DLT behind the data provenance of your AI systems. DPIN, obviously huge. Quantum coming in, people are just really fearful of single points of failure. So if you're holding all your data and there's computing systems that have a single point of failure, they're wanting to just distribute those through, use of DPIN, or even just, the idea of having multiple nodes where data runs through is really appealing to a lot of enterprises. On the traditional finance side, the tokenization of funds, the stable coins is becoming another really big topic of a ton of conversations. Is having a lot more stable coins built on the Hedera network, kind of purpose built stable coins for individual institutions, and that's becoming a real hot topic as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of things happening, and we're trying to move really fast. It is really encouraging to see the traditional financial markets and some of the larger institutional players really get deep into conversations on how they can utilize crypto and HBAR and different types of things in some of their current systems, not only for cost savings, but just the opportunity for net new revenue is what they're always out there looking to find. And there's just a lot of opportunity there. Obviously, you tokenize a huge fund that has a high watermark for entry, and now you make this barrier to entry a lot lower to get into a fund through tokenization. For them, now you're getting more real-time price discovery. The real-time price discovery drives the algorithms on which some of their trading platforms can work. Everything gets a little bit more accurate, a little bit faster, and that's what we're hoping to do all the time.
Charles, while we're talking about traditional finance, I did a great interview with the team from Bloomberg Intelligence. We also had one of your employees, Greg Bell, who's been doing a great job. And then we also had Canary Capital on, and they're exploring an HBAR-backed product. As far as bringing capital into our ecosystem through some of these HBAR-backed products or potential, basketed products that could include HBAR, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping to do a lot more of that. The ETF filing is a great first step. We hope to see a lot more of that. That's something we would love to see other companies step forward and work on HBAR specific ETFs. Would love to do that. It's hugely important, and the more we can get into institutional finance, it does really great things for us from a liquidity standpoint, stabilization of pricing, lowers volatility. It's just a really good thing to give people access to HBAR.
Absolutely. Now, I know I'm hopping around here just a little bit, but I do want to go back to what, Rob Allen said was, a huge use case that just came at the very end of 2024. We saw the integration of some Hedera technology through Equity Lab into NVIDIA chips and the Intel chips to address exactly what you were talking about a couple minutes ago, the governance of these large language models for AI. Do you think that's more of a proof of concept? They're just testing things out, or do you think that has real legs?
I do think it has real legs, and I think it's even bigger than that. I think what we're really wanting to focus on is when you can train your own language model, small language model, large language model, something very niche, whatever it may be, and you can lock in some form of version control without it continuing the learning or having hallucination or whatever it may be. You tokenize each piece of that data going in, and you have some form of version control. Now you're starting to think about the opportunity of verified language models. So if you have somebody out there who is an expert in, let's just say, rare artwork, I'll just give a strange example. and they input all of their knowledge. This is a very well-known, art curator. They input all of their knowledge. They show each data point tokenized going in. They've locked this data model into a chat agent that is like just the expert on all things art, can predict art pricing, the trends, all of that. Now this person has a verified version control niche language model of them being an expert, and they could license that out to everybody. It's to the point where if you start locking and creating language models in a way where they can actually be bought, sold, and trade on a model marketplace. And so I think everybody could have the ability to do that at some point. You train your own agent based on yourself as a human being. You lock that version control in, and that's almost someone that is an agent on your behalf that you've trained, and you've locked that data in from something that you've trained. So there's some pretty interesting, I think near term, obviously just having version control and keeping, more sanitary data inside of models is kind of the key focus. But I do see a future where there are marketplaces for these type of verified models for people to either license out or just fully buy, sell, and trade.
It's such an exciting space. Charles, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to discuss or pass on?
And I don't know. There's a million things. We could probably talk forever. I'm really excited for 2025. Really excited to be here at the HBAR Foundation now. Looking for all those grantees out there ready to build their business. Reach out to us, and we're going to try to get you there.
All right, sounds good. Well, Charles, I appreciate you coming on today, and good luck in your new role.
Yeah, thanks so much.